Y'all ready for this?
And we're back with another episode of the Nick and Adam Show. I am Nick, and
You will bring Captain Solo and the Wookiee to me. I am Adam.
even though we're talking about Masters of the Universe Season 1, Part 2, we'll go with the Star Wars. I like it. So, Adam, what did you think of the first part of Season 1?
I loved it. It exceeded my expectations. It also wasn't what I expected either. But that being said, it was very well written. It flushed out some characters, brought us a couple new ones, especially Tila. And I can get into more about that after, once we start talking. So what did I think about the first one? I mean, dude, I was floored, especially at the end when they went to heaven, or Eternos. Do you remember the toy of Eternia? The three towers they had? They had the Tower of Grayskull, Tower of Snake Mountain, and in the middle was what they used as the forge. Do you remember that toy?
No.
Funny thing. I didn't know about that toy until I was done playing with He-Man figures. I had moved on to Ghostbusters actually, and I had a friend. I was in the first grade. He was in the fourth grade. He had it, and he was like, "Yeah, this is the playset Eternia." Come to find out, I mean, it's a massive playset.
It's got three towers. It's got to be massive.
It's huge, and a working monorail with a motor. But so that real quick side story, that toy was made towards the end of the run of the figures in the show, like as the show was kind of dying and all that stuff.
Sure.
So there was only so many made. It is really rare. If you try to buy one, it's thousands of dollars. A lot of people buy pieces at a time, So that was it for that. So then when we get to Preternia, let's back it up and talk about Orko and his death. That was crazy. The fact that he was sick because there was no magic and Trollins need magic, and how he was kind of like accepting he was at the end of his life. And then how he found his confidence through a friendship with Evelyn, which plays into the next half. And he was able to kind of be the hero and stop Scareglow while they all made it to Preternia. And once we get there, we see King Grayskull, we see Hero, we see I don't remember his name, but he looks more like the Viking / Conan version of him. He's based off of the prototype toy of He-Man. I love the first part. I have no notes. It took a lot of balls to make something called. It wasn't called He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. It was just called Masters of the Universe Revelation. So that's where I'm like, very clever.
Right, but what was showcased a lot in the trailer?
Well, the first episode.
He-Man.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was, and yeah, you're right. You're right. It was, and we didn't get a lot of the He-Man we know in the second half either.
Well, that was always the thing, right? I mean, it's always been He-Man and the Masters Universe, and you get some of the Masters Universe, but you don't get a ton of He-Man. So, and that was always the issue, right? Because Clownfish, the YouTube channel, like a year before, they started getting leaks saying, "Hey, this is not just a He-Man show here. This is, it's very, very Tila centric. They didn't give too many spoilers. They didn't give any spoilers beyond that." And then Kevin Smith went after him. So there's part of that where, hey, no, they're lying, they're this, they're that, and then by the time Kevin and Smith had said all this stuff, and then by the time the show comes out, it's like, no, it's mostly Tila in season 1. So
yeah, and Kevin Smith, I love his work, but he talks too much about certain things. Like unless they make him sign a non-disclosure, you know. The funny part was is he kept saying on his show Fat Man Beyond about him with him and Mark Bernardin, yeah, we're working on something, we can't say it, and then the next weekend would come up, and this went on for weeks, and it was like, yep, still can't talk about it. And then one day they're like, I think we're allowed to say something now, Mark.
Yeah, and look, I was always a fan of Kevin Smith, but his cred definitely took a hit because he's on video, basically saying, "Hey, was never the biggest He-Man fan," which that's fine. You don't need to be the biggest He-Man fan. But when you start trying to talk a project up or make yourself sound like you know more than you do, he got busted a few times for that, so he lost a little bit of cred, and then you start going after YouTubers, which Kevin Smith knows as much as anybody. You can't go after fans. You're not going to gain anything by going after fans. If Kevin Smith simply would have said, "Hey, you know what? Let's just let the show speak for itself," he would have saved himself a lot of headaches.
Yeah, you would have saved yourself a lot of hate. It's a divisive show. I won't say that it's not, but I'm on the other side of that divide. I don't even. I could pick up some. I'll tell you what I didn't like. I didn't like Mark Hamill.
You didn't like Mark Hamill?
Nope,
this
not
will
at
be
all.
this is going to be an interesting conversation. So, but anyway, so I thought the first part of the first season it was okay. I'd have given it somewhere around the five out of six, somewhere around there. It was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. Uh, it if Kevin Smith just simply would have shut up and let the art speak for itself, wouldn't have had an issue. I'd have said, okay, that was an okay show, not a big deal. But no, he had to go and run his mouth and go after fans, so it took a little bit of a hit in my eyes. But um, yeah, I'm a He-Man. I like He-Man and the Masters Universe. I wasn't sure how you can say, hey, we're having this Masters Universe show. Here's a trailer, He-Man, 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 and then he's in it for about 10 minutes, and then you don't see him for the rest, most of the rest of the season. So
Yeah. Well, fair enough. I understand that. I
right,
really do. Um, for me, what I really liked about Adam and He-Man not being there was it put some stakes into the show. Um, and one of the things the Kevin Smith's bosses over him talked about. Um, his name's right on one of the credits too, right in the first. Anyways, doesn't matter. It does matter, but I can't look it up right now. He said, when I was a kid, every day watching this show, I thought He Man was going to lose, it was going to die. I was always worried about that. And he said, and then as I grew up and watched it again, I was like, realized, oh, he's never ever going to lose. He goes, so I want I want to have that same feeling now as an adult. And basically, well, okay, we'll give you stakes, and then they kill him. Uh, but in the original cartoon, they did an arc where you found out that, and I think the mini comics too, but I don't remember them as much. But they did an arc where you find out Tila is supposed to be the next sorceress, and that her mother is the sorceress. And I like how this show one and two, did flush that out. Because I think that by the end of it, once it's all said and done, and they did leave a teaser for a second season,
oh, absolutely,
um, once it's all said and done, I think you're in a very unique position to show uh, how Adam and Tila eventually end up together. You know,
well, yeah, that was like the tease, like almost the entire show, right? As we were
yeah,
kids, they were almost supposed to be together.
yeah, and they did that in DC Comics in the last 10 years. I read the regular series and it was pretty cool. She wasn't the sorceress. She became the sorceress. She became the snake sorceress because she's from some of like the snake kingdom or something like that. That part's hazy to me, but the sorceress was her mom. Blah blah blah. But he was King He Man or and King Adam at the time, and and sometimes it was a while before he would relinquish the power, this and that. But she was the queen, and they were together, and so uh, I like how this kind of sets up for something like that. What really made her go be the sorceress, and that is again Hordak came. Hordak brought they called her Despera, but her real name was Adora. So
So, so that's how they work her into the new season here. So,
well, that's how they did that in the comics. That's how they did it. Now, uh, Kevin Smith explained something that Masters of the Universe has a lot of parents. A lot of people own certain rights in certain ways,
right.
and we don't know if they can bring She-Ra in to this.
No, because who she's owned by? Well, right now, because well, Amazon's developing a live action show for her, right?
I did not know that.
That's rumor that it was. I heard earlier today is that yeah, that was they were talking about part of the rights issues, and I guess Amazon is currently in production of a She-Ra show, so
Okay.
live action.
I do have something for you before we start talking about the and I'll let you borrow them if you want. Before all of this, right? This was like what I'm talking about. It's like the regular series, E-Man Masters of the Universe. There's a mini series that comes first, sort of like the Gen 13 stuff.
Right.
There was like that 5 issues. It's a 6 issue mini series. He-Man's on every cover. He's not in any of the books,
Right.
but there's a reason for it because it takes place after the show, but it doesn't. But the show wasn't the end all be all, right? More stuff happened, and one of the things that happened was Skeletor found out who he was, and Skeletor ended up winning. And what they did was he cast some kind of spell that bound the sorceress and made everybody forget who they were. It kind of wiped everything. So King Randor's dying in a village, and Adam's taking care of it, taking care of him, having no idea who he really is. And he goes on a quest, and things are eventually revealed to him. Evelyn is at the palace. Skeletor's at Grayskull. All of these guys, they've taken over the planet essentially. But when that moment comes in like issue 3 or 4, by the power of Grayskull, and he remembers everything, the world shakes. And as everybody has this, we got to get the hell out of here. We need to get out of here right now. Everybody panics, all the bad guys. And it was really cool. And then you just see He-Man fucking chopping people to death. Like it's real metal, dude. He's at the gates of Grayskull, and he's got blood all over him and shit. It's cool.
So you see that a little bit in the second part of season 1. So
yeah.
All right.
So
yeah, let's get into
overall, I really liked it.
Okay.
Season 1.
Also, so we're talking about. So you like the first part. How'd you feel about the second part?
All right, I'll admit I was hoping and expecting a little more He-Man beyond the Savage He-Man.
Right.
But Savage He-Man had his point, had his part. Anytime you mentioned his father, he was angry, and then that closes the loop to the beginning of the show where he's like, I hope to have these, that's a father's pride, Adam. I hope to one day have that feeling. So you could tell he bags on Adam all the time, and while Adam's just doing it like a Clark Kent.
Well, that was part of my issue. I don't remember in the cartoons King Randor being a dick of a dad. Maybe that's something I don't remember, but I always thought he was a fair king, and was always not necessarily the most affectionate. But I mean, I never thought of King Randor as like a bad dad.
It was peppered in. Like the episode of the Cosmic Comet, which was the first one that aired, but not necessarily the supposedly supposed to be the first episode. He says something snide to Prince Adam.
Well, Adam, it looks like you're finally taking a bit of serious responsibility.
In that episode, and Prince Adam walks off. And there was a couple other times, but I think that this makes up for all of that. Especially when we see he's the reason Adam changes back. the tears and all that kind of stuff. And let's talk about Savage He-Man for a minute. Thoughts? What are your thoughts on Savage He-Man?
No, I thought it was cool, and then you know, because that was part of the thing in the trailer. Like, you know, basically, I don't need the sword to be a conduit for the power, and then you see what just the raw power is, and it was Now I feel slightly bad because all the people he went and killed were 5 seconds before just villagers. It's like, oh, so there's no hope for bringing those or transforming those guys back, huh? Because Skeletor had turned the whole town into basically an army of the undead, and so they started attacking the fortress, and then Savage He-Man starts going savage, and I'm like, oh, he is just killing anything he sees.
It's a fucking killing machine.
So there's no hope for those guys. Hopefully those guys, you know,
It beat the piss out of Skeletor.
yeah, and that was part of the thing too. It's just like, okay, yeah,
It's like the Hulk.
And that's pretty much what it was. Where he didn't get a scratch on him for all the attacks that he had on him, and it was just one of those. Oh, so this is just basically the Hulk version of He-Man. So
Yeah, but I think it was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty cool. You know what I mean?
no, I thought for that episode it was nice. I'd be like, okay, yeah, let's just let him go. Okay, this is fun. There doesn't necessarily contribute a ton to the story, but yeah, let's see Savage He-Man for an episode and just let him run. So that was fun.
Now, when they transported, so they end up transporting over to the Mystic Mountains because Skeletor is about to drop this cluster bomb on everybody, which He-Man likely would have survived. Savage He-Man likely would have survived, but everybody else would have been dead.
Right.
So they get there, and this is where I started getting a little fatigued. This is the only part, but they redeemed it real fast. I was like, dude, okay, how's he gonna change back? And then when Tila started talking to him, I was like, okay, he's gonna realize, all right. And then he grabs her arm when she starts mentioning his father, and I'm like, oh no, this is gonna go on for more of an episode. What's he gonna do now? And then he started to attack the what was it, the Dread Point Dread?
Yeah, basically the forward operating base for the Eternia army.
But then his dad recognizes him, knows what's going on, and tells him, I love you and I'm proud of you and all this kind of stuff. And then they cry. He changes back. I thought that was moving. So when I watch it again, I won't have that same fatigue. I'll be like, oh, this is going to pay off really well.
So turns back into, well, I should backtrack a little bit because at the very beginning, Adam was still, mortally wounded from the attack before, and then Tila, I don't know exactly how to say it, but basically through magic heals Adam, and
she taps
and starts to tap into her
mojo.
Yeah, her magic and heals him. So then, yeah, I forget how she transports him, but more magic transport.
She remembers the spell her mother was saying, and she starts to recite it.
Klaatu, Veranda,
and focuses her energy, and then they disappear.
Right.
So, Evelyn becoming what was her? What did she call herself?
I don't remember exactly, but I've heard people call her Evelyn because she got so massive. Because she was pretty jacked, for a woman standard. And then once she took the power upon herself, she got even more jacked. I'm like, oh goodness, that's a bit much.
Which makes me think, did they not leave enough room for Adora to change into She-Ra gracefully, kind of a thing?
Well, and we have to talk about how she got the sword from Skeletor.
That was, I would have lost the sword too. Sorry.
No, I understand, but isn't that more like borderline fan fiction? A couple of that's like comic book shop talk. Like, hey, dude, like, would it be cool if Skeletor and Evelyn hooked up? Like, it just
Well,
reminds me of,
yeah.
like, talk about that. I was like, are we going there? Okay. Like, it got to the point where he's like, yeah, okay, baby, let's go. Where at this point, he literally could have created anybody, to fill that void that he would want. So,
Well, they use Black Widow over and over and over again in the comics and somewhat in the movies to seduce people.
sure.
And let's face it, we had that conversation too a while back. I can't remember what was the topic, but you made a great point when you said that a woman's sexuality or like a woman's type lust is or whatever is different from a man's, and you know what I mean. They're two different people, and Skelecat there, Skelegod, he fell for it like hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
But to say that slightly came out of left field, I was a little bit like, oh, was not expecting the old try and hook up and then, oh, you're too powerful. I need you to power down for me, big boy. It's like, oh,
you could kill me. You're a god.
so that gets back to the Mallrats freaking conversation. How does, Superman have sex with Lois Lane? It's like, oh, you got to power down for me because you're a god. I was like, oh, this is happening. Okay.
Smallville addressed that.
Did they?
Wait, how do you guys, what do you mean? He goes, when I'm at the fortress, Jarrell, he showed me some techniques. And that was it. That's all he said was one episode.
To tie that loose end up, huh?
Yep. Tie that little loose end up. Yeah, my favorite part of that is when Brody's talking about, what would happen with Lois and Superman. And he goes, the only way he could ever do it is if he used a kryptonite condom.
Right.
That would kill him.
Right.
If he used a kryptonite condom, that would kill him.
They go back into Evelyn's backstory where her parents are literally on the verge of eating her.
That's crazy.
But also, I'm like,
crazy.
first of all, she goes immediately into the sewer to get away from the crazy ass parents. But then, like, there's rats in the sewers. I was like, when they eat the rats first before you eat your kid, she spends 20 years in the sewers, comes out, either she's about to get attacked in some form or fashion. Skeletor saves her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he actually, like, legit saves her. But then it's used against him later. Like, I realized, Evelyn and Skeletor didn't have the best,
Well, he was
the best relationship. It was abusive. He was a dick and he's power hungry, the whole thing. But also, it's like, I don't know. It's like he legit saved her. Like, he saved her. And then they try and be like, yeah, but no, you did it for your own means. I was like, it didn't look like it. Like, it looked like you were about to be killed or raped or whatever. And he walks in and saves you and he didn't have to. So,
and it was. You could argue too that was what the universe or whatever wanted, even though they go off a lot saying that it's chaotic. That good needs evil.
yeah,
In order for there to be good, there has to be evil, and for there to be evil, there has to be good.
yeah, she goes super nihilistic as she goes deeper into the void of the actual inner workings of the cosmos. And basically, it's like, oh, there's nothing. It's all chaos. It's all evil. It's all bad. Everything's all bad. And she goes pretty hard, pretty deep into the nihilism. So,
Yeah, she's definitely the product of a lifetime of an abusive environment. Absolutely. Yeah, she's traumatized.
absolutely.
Oops, sorry. I'll have to cut that out. I had to cut out yours.
What, burps?
Yeah.
Oh,
You had just one. You went back, and I was like,
oh yeah, I burped like 4 times so far.
"Oh, did you? I didn't catch it." That the other one, I was going to do something funny with it.
Over here.
I was just going to do. It's over here. So okay.
So obviously she's been abused, but there's a lot of daddy issue, parent issues that are dealt with in the show.
Marital issues.
Marital issues. There's a lot of that. It's a lot of a lot of crying, a lot of therapy, talk it out sessions that I'm like, okay. And I've always had an issue with this because I call it like the Disney parent effect, where like, oh, like a parent makes a sacrifice for their kid, but it's always looked at in the negative. I'm like, no, like when a parent makes a sacrifice for their kid, it's usually with the best intentions, not the worst intentions, like everybody tries to frame it. So,
I'll buy that, but I still liked what they did with it.
uh,
It was, I liked that level of drama. And you're right, it, a lot of parents and do things with the best of intentions and probably get more shit for it than they deserve. But then on the flip side of it, there is someone else involved in it, and that's a powerless kid. And they get to be that adolescent slash 20s age. And um anyway, I think it was a way for Adam to realize, like, kind of like the error of it, of his way, or kind of saying like, my secret was a burden, you know. Um, and one day I would have had to come out with it, but it came out this way. It didn't work out the way that I planned,
well,
you know.
and they did a similar thing with the sorceress. In the very beginning of the second part of the series, they have the sorceress leaving Tila, and I forget the character's name, but basically Man at Arms
Duncan.
and Duncan. So basically, she has to leave all the basically anything, very much like a Jedi, where you have to leave all things that basically hold you back from doing the job as sorceress. And then Tila gets on her. You didn't have to be like, you realize the heartbreak that caused the sorceress? Like, that wasn't just like, oh, not a mom anymore. Don't worry about it. I'm good. You're like, no, like that broke that woman's heart, every damn day, especially when she saw Teal and like didn't know, couldn't tell her, just be like, oh, by the way, sorceress, mom will watch over you. Don't worry.
Tila said that she's angry. You don't get to say that. But then when she's in the water, she saw everything, past, present, future, all that stuff. And then she saw, her mom struggle with that going into the water. And I think that that's where the healing started for her, so.
No, but that's what I was getting to. I was like, it's almost like that Disney thing. I always think of like Hook, where in the beginning, Robin Williams' character is a lawyer. He's always working, but it's not like he's working because he doesn't, like he's a bad dad. He's working because he's trying to support his family. And look, I'm a kid, and Dad didn't make it to all my games either, but didn't mean he didn't care. And it just, that shit bugged me. All right.
Good take. No, good take. No, I hear you.
So you didn't like Mark Hamill? That was like one of the few things I liked. Because I'm not a big, like, I like him professionally. I dislike him personally, but professionally, I like Mark Hamill.
I agree. I just heard too much Joker in his voice.
Understandable, but
that was it. It was like, okay, when he was talking like this, he had me, man. I was like, all right. And then he
drop a joke and
yeah, or he would talk. His speech pattern was like the Joker. What did he say? Somebody was hey, Donkey. He called Duncan Donkey when he was
right.
Like, Skeletor wouldn't say that. And actually no character would say that except for the Joker.
Right.
I will backtrack. I'll backpedal a little bit. I didn't hate it, but he wouldn't have been my first choice as the voice for him.
Yeah, that was just before we linked up here. I read an article, and I guess everybody in the room that was making decisions was going, "No, we want Mark as Skeletor." So that was almost like a universal decision. So,
and that was you there? All right, sorry.
No, you're good.
Who the hell wouldn't want Mark Hamill in it?
Right.
You know what I mean?
He's one of the top voice actors on the planet.
He'll go down in history with Heath Ledger, the two of them, as the best two Jokers who ever lived.
Right.
And Jack Nicholson. Anyway, well, that doesn't leave much room left, does it?
The short list.
But the short list would be him and Ledger. But as much as I loved him as the Joker in the animated series, I loved him as the Joker in the Arkham games. I didn't like him as the Joker in the Killing Joke. I didn't like what's his name, Kevin Conroy as Batman in the Killing Joke, because I know the Killing Joke. Like, okay, if there's a priest out there who knows his proverbs or his Matthew, I know the Killing Joke. I can almost recite the damn book, and they didn't execute the lines the way I heard them in my head. I guess it sounded so. Anyways, there are some things I think he's good for, and I think he was fine.
Right.
I think he was fine. I don't think he destroyed anything. Okay, so I want to be careful what I say there. But I mean, it was the parts where he went, he would drop down to that, and I'm like, I can live with this as Skeletor. I can live with that.
Right.
Although often I look at this guy and I can't help but wait, here we go. This guy, and I often go, fuck you, He-Man, you boob. And I'm by myself. And I just think it's funny to hear him swear. I've got to go to the bathroom.
I love the Skeletor memes that have been popping up lately.
Yeah, they're the best. I love the line from the Christmas special. I don't like to feel good. I like to feel evil.
All right, so, and there's a few lines where I think, and I don't know if they tried to sneak this one in on maybe over the kids' heads, but I'm gonna talk about it. When they had poor Fisto,
I'd like to fist him.
yes. Yes, I was like, oh, come on.
Kevin Smith wrote that episode.
No freaking kidding. I go, oh, no. Want to piss that. I'm like, come on, man. That was the, I'm like, yeah. And then, so getting back to good. So they brought Orko back. And Orko almost came back like, I don't know if you're a Lord of the Rings guy, but came back like Ian McKellen where he comes back with a fancy new robe. I was like, did he power up in, where is it? Hell of Eternia? But
Gandalf the White, Orko in white.
He kind of did. So they brought him back because he wasn't just in his red robe thing. Like they brought him back where he's all like, yeah, it was all very.
He was like Bruce Lee with his magic.
That's what I was like. He came out on fire.
Yeah.
So and like he gets 5 seconds of airtime, but they finally brought Ram Man.
I thought about you when I saw that.
I was like, for love of God, thank you. I mean, you literally drop him in there for 5 seconds, and he literally bounces, and then he takes off and goes.
Yep. Then he lands on the ground, starts kicking their asses.
Yeah, and then he just bounces away.
Yep. I like Ram Man. I liked Queen Marlena too when she was talking about her marital problems with Adam and everything like that. She was like, I was thinking about going back to Earth. I was like, yes, deep cut. Very good. I don't know if you remember that episode, but she was like a NASA pilot or something.
I see it. He-Man's mom, I don't remember much from the show.
They have a whole episode. She crash landed on Earth with us in a space shuttle, I think. Something that looked like the Columbia or Apollo, not Apollo. That was not a fucking shuttle. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like Columbia and
the space shuttle.
And then Randor found her.
What's up, girl?
And they fell in love. Yeah, what's up, girl? He was like all enchanted.
I'm a king. What's up?
Yeah, I'd like to be queen.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know Skeletor's He-Man's uncle?
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. He was Keldor originally. So Randor's father ended up in the land of the blue people. And they were this
I love
like
how just random. It's like, yeah, there's blue people. Oh, okay.
well, they were like witchcrafty type people. You know what I mean? They did spells and stuff. Hence, he's a sorcerer, right? And he was injured, and this woman, nursed him back to health. They kind of fell in love, and she ended up with child. But like, his father couldn't accept the child at first or whatever. He ended up growing up in the palace, even though he was the eldest child. He couldn't be king because A, he was illegitimate, and B, he was a freak show to everybody else.
So very much like Loki.
Right. But he was by blood connected to the throne. He should have been king.
Right.
But so Randor was king, and that's that.
Well, it's nice to see. I don't know the name of them, but the bee people, those were fun.
Oh, Buzz Off and everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, because they had a very almost end game type battle where the whole planet comes to attack Skeletor and Evelyn. So
You see the name of that episode? Everything's in here.
yes, yeah.
Did you pick up on the Four Non-Blondes title?
No.
You know that song that goes, and I say, hey, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know those Prince Adam memes where he's going,
Oh.
hey, yeah. The name of the episode was Hope for a Destination. Hope for a Destination. Nice. I was like, oh,
that's clever.
Yeah.
But so they have the big battle scene where actually Skeletor jumps sides because he has all his power taken away because he's horny. And then
now see that's what I didn't like. See, I didn't care about the seduction thing.
Right.
I was kind of like, yeah, that'd probably work on me. But
who hasn't been there,
Yeah, but you're a hero. I get it, dude. How fucking optimistic do you have to be? The Lord of Evil is standing right next to you. You want to forgive him for trying to kill you? I'm all about it. Could you please not put the fucking AK-47 back in his hand? Please?
Right.
So that I thought was but He-Man won at the end, like he would anyway. But right.
And then go on.
But it did give us so this is I was feeling a little stressed at the end of the episode too, because we get Tila Sorceress and Evelyn fighting, and I'm like, if this is the last part, this is the last epic battle, and it's not the He-Man's not the last epic battle, I said, then everybody's gonna be right. It is the Tila show. But they didn't, so it gave us that.
Right. So, but they did. So, a little bit of an issue with how Tila gets her powers, because that was a big thing. Because the mom had to sacrifice everything, right? Tila didn't have to sacrifice anything.
She called her own shots. Yeah.
Yeah, but she's the first. And why? Because the power of friendship, basically.
You know what that reminded me of, though? I'm not picking on religion. It reminded me of how, like, Catholic priests can't get married. And they were like, and it's one of the oldest orders in the Christian faith. And then they're like, no, that's dumb. Let's break off and I'll be a minister. Right. And I would rather be a minister than a priest, any day of the week, just so I could get married.
It's a stupid man-made law.
Right. So, like, I'm wondering, was that just some dogma? You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. They left it very ambiguous because it's like, well, all the other sorcerers before have had to give up everything. Except you, Tila. You're special. And because you have friends. Okay.
She certainly can become Queen Tila now.
Well, that's the thing, because they really didn't put an end to the chances of a relationship between her and He-Man still. So they they were definitely alluded to be like, oh, you can be my hero. And I'm like,
you're my hero. She says she loves that man. She loves that boy or whatever, right. You know. That flea man. She loves that flea man. So I thought King Grayskull was gonna come down and like snatch the sword.
Yeah, there was a few things that I heard some people saying, "Where's this person? Where's that? Where's Zordak?" I don't know. There's so much stuff going on. I'm like, I do not. And it's been a while since I've watched the TV show, admittedly. So I'm like, who's this? I was like, that is an '80s memory from 30 years ago now at this point.
Zodak or Zodiac.
Oh, and you froze, so waiting for you to come back. Come on back. Come on back.
Zodak. I mean,
hold on 1 second. You're freezing. So,
hi.
All right. So you're back. So you're talking about Zodak.
Yeah, he was the last surviving member of the council. That I guess maybe he didn't forge his powers into the orb and create the Grayskull illusion, so he became the Watcher of the universe.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, all the ins and outs. Where was this random character? Don't know. Don't really remember what he did. But so basically at the end, Tila's the new sorceress.
Yeah.
Man-at-Arms retires, or Duncan retires, and is it Andar? His character's name?
Andra.
Andra is the new Man-at-Arms. And what other musical chairs do we? Is that it? So.
Yeah, and Adam's back as He-Man.
Yeah, Adam's back as He-Man. So.
And I liked how he was like, well, you're the sorceress, and you can fight,
and you can go anywhere now. So what's the point of me?
And then she loops back to when he leaves heaven. He's like, where you go, I go. And she looks at him and says, where I go, you go. And I need my champion. The sorceress always needs a champion. I was like, you go, Sarah Michelle. I mean, Tila.
I mean, Buffy. But
my crush since I was in middle school, watching her on All My Children as Kendall Hart. Because my older brother, for some reason, taped All My Children and made us watch it while we were in the dinner table. It's kind of bizarre. But it introduced me to Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Right. So, anyway, and then Evelyn gets redeemed at the end too, because Tila says, look, and she looks and she goes, oh, the universe isn't so bad. I said, oh, okay.
See, that the only part about that, like, I think that she should have been redeemed. I agree with that. However, probation, court-ordered therapy,
right?
Maybe some group counseling,
maybe
for at least 5.
Maybe locked up on the weekends for 30 days.
Yeah,
only for like work release.
Yeah, at least 5 years.
I don't know how long that is in attorney time, but yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. And what's up with Beastman? I mean, I kind of don't think he died.
Oh, Beastman was simping so hard for freaking Evelyn. It's like, dude, like, you're embarrassing. Like,
yeah,
it's like, come on, man. Like, I felt bad. I felt bad for him, and then she was like friend zoning him and brushing him off. I was like, dude, she's not interested. Stop.
Yeah.
She doesn't like you.
Yeah.
And then she turns into a bigger beast. He's like, oh, what a beast now. And so she turns into his big beast, and it's like, okay, that's
my lady.
Hopefully that's what you wanted, because that's all you're getting from Evelyn there, my friend.
Yeah. So
anyway, total first season, Adam, what do you think?
No notes except for what I said. I loved it. It was a full circle. It added depth to what I watched as a child, and I actually went back and watched some of this stuff. I saw the first time Adam released the power or took back or whatever, changed back, and that was all taken from that episode too. So that episode was written heavy because Skeletor made He-Man think he murdered somebody. Um, I loved it. I loved it.
I thought it was okay, but you're gonna have a Masters Universe show. You need more He-Man. So I wouldn't have minded this storyline for like season 2, but for season 1, man, you got to give me He-Man. You got to give me more Ram Man. Just give me some of the cartoon stuff. Like it doesn't have to be like exactly 80s cartoon, but at least have a couple stories with He-Man, a couple stories with Orko, a couple stories with Man at Arms. The You literally get He-Man at the beginning and the end, and it's Tila in between. And not that it's a bad story, but when you start going, hey, we're doing Masters Universe, we're like, a He-Man show? No, we're doing Masters of the Universe. We're like, a He-Man show?
No.
Masters of the Universe. It's like, Brett! Like,
He-Man show? The other guy's going, no, Masters of the Universe. He-Man show, Masters of the Universe. He's just saying everything but no.
Right, exactly.
He-Man show,
Pretty much
He-Man
what.
show.
No, we're doing a He-Man show. No, we're doing Masters of the Universe. Son of a, say it.
I think I speak for you and other people our age, and this is when I was a little kid, and it would start. It would go He-Man, and when they get to that part, and the Masters of the Universe, I'd be like, who gives a fuck about those guys?
just say He-Man, damn it.
Yeah, it was He-Man. Hey, can I watch He-Man and the Masters of the Universe? Never came out of my mouth.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
I think I had to be like 11 and hadn't seen the show in years before I figured out what Masters of the Universe meant. Because as a little kid, I just didn't give a shit. I wanted that. I wanted to see the transformation.
Between that and Thundercats, that's what I remember. So
God, I listened to that Thundercats theme song on my fucking.
It's one of the best damn theme songs ever.
Oh my God.
I don't care. It's so freaking 80s. It's ridiculous, but it still freaking rocks.
Dude, I mean, yeah, and then the lead guitar in it.
Oh, I'd say the shredding. It could not get more 80s with the shrieking metal guitar, but just the way, like, because you see the energy going over mountains, and it comes to the Iathan Thundor. I was like, oh, that's good stuff. I hope that who's the guy that's making the movie? That better be good.
You know who's making that movie?
It's the Godzilla guy.
Yeah, Godzilla guy.
I mean, I'm sure he has a name, but
yeah, I heard a review about that Godzilla movie. Mark Bernardin, who was a writer on this show, He-Man Masters of the Universe, he went to see it. And I'm like, okay, so what'd you think? He goes, it was the best stupid movie I ever saw in my whole life. He's like, they were like, okay, we got to go over here. How do we get Godzilla on a boat? I don't know. Well, he's on a boat now.
Yeah, he's on an aircraft carrier. Yeah, Adam Wingard. So,
okay.
Yeah, he's born in '82, so he's a year just behind me. So, yeah.
All right. So then, now shit just got real.
Yeah, he's right in that wheelhouse.
Yeah, you better do this right, buddy.
Yeah. Well, that's what he said. Like, it's been such a passion project because, I mean, you can Google search all you want, all the different the times where like Thundercats has been like rumored and there's been people cast. I remember seeing stuff back for like 2007 as with Matthew McConaughey. Matthew McConaughey as Lion-O, and go, oh my gosh, and that was as far as it got. So.
Okay, so yeah, so the nod to the movies we were talking about. So now you know General Blade. He's in the scene where they're fighting in the bowels of Grayskull. They fight him. And then the second nod to the movies is when Skeletor turns his back or backstabs at him, and he's like, and he says, "Let this be our final battle." That's what Frank Langella says to Dolph Lundgren after he becomes Skelegod.
Let this be our final battle!
I was like, "Oh shit! Another reference from the movie."
There you go.
My head went. Whoa! I saw that movie at the theater, man.
Yeah, I did not.
Yeah, my brother took me. Which, you always say, love washes away a multitude of sin. You quote the Bible there. Anytime I want to punch my brother in the bush, I'm like, well, he did take me to go see He-Man in '87. So,
As they just looked up.
What's that?
I was like, when did that movie come out? It said '87. Yep, '87.
Yeah. And before that, it was The Secret Sword in '85. He took me to see that too, because that was in the theaters. That was the introduction to She-Ra.
Nice.
Yep.
So, but all right, my friend, let's wrap it up at least for the podcast. So,
all right. My last thoughts are, I love it. I'm all in for season 2. I understand some of the gripes of other people, but I just that's fine. It's all subjective, but I love it, and that's it.
Kevin, more He-Man. I need more cowbell. So,
yeah,
but,
yeah,
right.
I want more He-Man too.
Dude, I'm not asking a lot for more He-Man in the He-Man show. So,
here's the thing: they laid the groundwork. They wiped out all of everything. Was different by the time it was over. I'm ready for new adventures. I'm ready for more He-Man in those new adventures. Just give it to me.
That's why I said if this were season 2, I'd understand it. But season 1, like I said, give me some He-Man, give me some Orko, give me some Man at Arms, give me some Ram Man. Okay, fine. If we have to settle for that in season 2, fine. But let's do that. Let's stop playing around. So
yeah, you didn't even let me get my beak wet, man.
So all right, guys, thanks for watching. My name is Nick.
And my name is Adam.
Guys, take care. Thanks for stopping by. And make sure if you stop by our social media, we're putting up stuff as much as we can. So we're on Instagram and Facebook and obviously YouTube. And if you like our stuff, drop us a like, maybe a subscribe, or even a share. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you for allowing us to do this and come into your lives.
Thanks, guys.